Hi guys, welcome to Wednesday What's Coaching with Mr. Ben. I thought to talk to you today about the importance of a good FTP. What does that mean? Well, good FTP is pub talk, isn't it? Oh, I can do 400 watts, I can do 300. But what I'm trying to get over is the bigger FTP you have, obviously it means you can produce more power, which obviously more power means more free speed. But obviously getting a good FTP comes with a serious amount of training and carefully planned. But I'm putting it from a racer's point of view. If you're a mountain bike racer, a time trialer, a road racer, a triathlete, etc., etc., the bigger FTP you have, the more you have in reserve. The bank account, I always call it, the bank account of fitness. The best way to explain it is, I'll show you where I've gone wrong in early years of racing. I've never done enough training. It sounds really bad being a coach, but I've always had a relatively good FTP, but I've always been under-trained. So, for example, if I go into a road race, I'd often find myself within the pack, kept in the pack fine, always managed just about to stay with the group on the hills, etc. But towards the end of the race, if it's a 2-hour race or something, I'd start to get myself really fatigued. So that was lack of mileage, but also I was at my threshold level. So let's say the race was 250, 260 watts average. That's an average for the race, but lots of surges, spikes. I was finding I was getting close to my current FTP. Not 20 minute, but more of the hour, true FTP power. And of course, if there was a breakaway, I didn't have the raw strength or the reserves to go after them. Or if it came to sprinting at the end on a long race, I had nothing left in the legs because I'd used all my matches up. So if, for example, the average race was 250 watts and I had an FTP of 350, I'm going to be much more comfortable sat in that pack or whatever tacks are made. Thus, it gives me more opportunity to go with a breakaway, bring it back, or at the end, go for a last minute sprint because I've got that bit more reserve. And that's where I think the bigger the FTP you can have, the better it comes. And obviously, if you time trialists and triathletes, the bigger the FTP, the faster you do the ride because it's much more sustainable. But in road racing, mountain bike racing, which is a lot more surges, if you've got a bigger FTP, you can settle down more, especially if you're a strong rider. And if every other rider is strong like you, you're going to be on that edge. At least you can stay with the pack. So, how do you get more FTP? How do you raise your power? There's so many ways. Look at what sports scientists have researched. All these doctors at universities, etc. They are the ones who test. They see the physical evidence of stimulus from different training. I'm a coach, so I read all this. If I can help you a little bit, what works for me? Well, I hate doing FTPs. My mindset, I can't handle the pain. What works really well for me is doing under and overs, 1 minute on, 1 minute off. For example, I used to sit 250 watts minute off, 350 watts minute on. Not quite working out the percentage of FTP, but that worked really well. When I came to my FTP, I had like 21 watts gain, and all because I'd done a much different approach. You could do 95, 105% FTP, or you could drop into VO2, 90% FTP, like a sweet spot, go up to 110% when you're into VO2. Under and overs, if you've never done them before, for me they work brilliantly. But just because it works for me might not work for you, so you have to make a decision. Classically, you've got your 2 20-minute FTP or sweet spot zones, 4 15-minute efforts, 4 times 5-minute VO2. Horribly hard session, but very rewarding because long period you will really raise your FTP. And of course, if you find doing those sessions are really hard to motivate, especially on a turbo in the winter, if you're doing those sort of sessions or coming into pre-season, do some time trials, 20-minute, 10-mile time trials, or even better, hour, because an hour is a true test of it. So those few little sessions here, which I spoke about, some of you will be doing others already, some of you can come from a different angle. I didn't think of it like that. So it's well worth doing. As I said at the start, 1 minute on, 1 minute off work wonders for me, because psychologically, my personality, I find it really hard to get my head down and focus. By doing a minute, I know that I'm ready to come off, drop it down again. ready to go back on. For some reason, my body responds really well, and then I feel much more stronger. So if you've got time, I don't want to disrupt your training, but if you've got time, perhaps do a 6-week block of 1 minute on, 1 minute offs. See how you get on. If it works for you, brilliant, you've got a training tool to use for the future. If it doesn't work for you, apologies, at least you've tried it. Anyway, I will look forward to seeing you next session, guys. Take care. If you want to know any more on this, do some research or drop me an email, bennettinspiredpersonaltraining.com. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.